All right. Okay, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us your name, the city you live and work in, your job description, how many years in the job, things like that.
Okay, my name is Fabio Bosco. I am a subway worker here in São Paulo. I am a member of the union. I'm a member also of a labor federation called CSP Com Lutas, and I'm also a member of a political organization called Unified Socialist Workers Party.
And you were recently fired. Can you tell us briefly about that?
Well, there was a strike 2 years ago, just before the World Cup, and the company decided to fire 42 workers. I was one of them, and we are fighting to rehire everyone.
Okay, very good. Can you just start by telling us a little bit about the city we're in now, Sao Paulo? How large is it? Where do you live?
Okay, São Paulo is a huge city. It has something like 10 million inhabitants, and if you take the whole area of Greater São Paulo, it's something around 19 million.
It's a big city. Can you tell us about public transportation in Sao Paulo? Can you also tell us, I understand that the buses were privatized. When was that privatized, and what happened? How did that affect workers and the riding public?
Yes, well, one of the big issues in São Paulo is public transportation, because there are plenty of people and not enough and affordable public transportation for all of us here. It bases itself on the bus, train, and subway. Buses were privatized in the early 90s. Before that, we had one main state-owned company called CMTC. It covers all the, let's say, low-profit lines, while the private sector were in charge of the lines that were much more profitable. So after privatization, what happened is that the quality of the transportation, both in quantity of buses, the time they operate, everything got worse. And for the workers, even worse.
Okay. There are many people who do not pay rent or own homes in Sao Paulo. However, there are many people who sleep in tents in the city. There are also perhaps over 100 buildings in downtown Sao Paulo which have been occupied by people without homes. In many United States cities, police would forcibly move these people. How has this developed, briefly?
Well, another big issue here in São Paulo and all big cities in Brazil is the issue of housing. And why? There are companies and rich individuals who benefit from keeping land and homes away from the people in order to have an increase of the prices of both land and other properties, and also rents skyrocket. So many people here live in very poor housing. We call them favelas. And here downtown, where we have many buildings that are empty, there are movements of homeless people that organize themselves, occupy these buildings, and start living there. The owners always resort to the courts in order to have a police action to carry out the eviction. But what happens? The Brazilian law establishes that there must be social use for land and homes. So there is a struggle there. In general, courts side with the owners, it's true, and then the police. Then there is a struggle against the police. Many times, depends on the political situation. It's the state cannot put the police to make the eviction. There are other times when this is politically possible. So at this moment, when we have many struggles in Brazil, we still have more than 100 buildings occupied in downtown São Paulo, and the struggle is on. You see, either they keep their places where they are living now, or the government build public housing and transfer there. That's the struggle of the homeless movement, which we support.
Right on. Can you talk to us a little bit about your union, the Metro Workers Union? How many workers are in your union, and what are some of the different functions or different work job descriptions that some of the members of your union do?
Okay, my union represents 9,500 workers that works for the state-owned Metropolitan Company of São Paulo. This company is responsible for 4 subway lines here in São Paulo. There is just one more which is private owned. The union fights to represent these workers, but up to now the bosses managed to establish a yellow union, a union that's linked to them, and so formally, legally, we don't represent the workers of this private line, but all other 4 lines, we represent all the workers. Who are these workers? There are train operators, people that work in the stations doing assistance to customers, all kind of assistance, maintenance, and also security. And the ones who organize everything, which are the guys who do the clerical work. So all these workers are represented by the union.
Okay, can you talk about how your union functions? About 6 years ago, I understand, the union leadership was won by worker revolutionists. What has changed in the structure of the union since then? How have decisions become more democratic, and how have workers become more active in their union?
Well, when there were elections 6 years ago, we had a new leadership in the union since then. And what was the improvements were basically related to workers' democracy. So, for instance, the number of mass meetings increased a lot. We have every month, we have at least one. When during every year we have struggle for a new contract, and so the mass meetings, we have more than one mass meeting per month during this period. This improvement means a lot. Means that the worker that is in his working place, he has the right to go to the mass meeting and to speak out his opinions on every issue regarding the functioning of the union and the struggles that the workers are organizing, are carrying out. So I think this is the biggest achievement. The bosses felt that the new leadership was a militant one, a leadership that believes in independence from the bosses, independence from the government, and in the action of the workers in order to get to keep all workers right and to have better wages and better working conditions. And what we saw during the last 6 years is that not only we had much more action coming from the workers, but also the contracts were able to have better wages in relation to inflation levels, And also a lot of struggles for working conditions were beneficial for the workers. So I think that this was a big achievement for the workers.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the Sao Paulo City train strike of 2014, which happened just before the World Cup soccer competition. What were some of the reasons workers decided to strike?
Well, we are fighting for a contract, for a new contract. We wanted to have better wages and some specific benefits. The company reached a point in the bargaining where it stops. And so after many calls for a strike, the workers decided to go on strike. We had a strike, a 5-day strike. When we started the strike, the backlash coming from the company with the support of media and all governments, the state government, the national government where the Workers' Party was ruling in those days, were very strong against the strike. They tried to break the strike. For the first time, they sent riot police into the stations to carry out repression against the strikers, against picket lines, and on top of that, they used the courts to declare the strike abusive, what opens the way for dismissals. The union got a fine, a very big fine that affected all the money of the union, and 42 of us were fired. Of these 42, 2 were immediately reinstalled, and 3 others we managed through the courts to bring them back. Now we are 37, and we won in the courts in the first level, the second level, and now our suit is going to the last level of labor courts, which we expect in 1 year or 2 will decide the same of the other ones, which is to reinstall all of us.
And I'll just go out of order here, but how has the union supported you and the other 42, now 37 workers who were fired? Has the union done anything with you or for you?
The workers were very much in solidarity with us, and the union as well. So what happened? In order to keep us while we were fighting in the courts, a mass meeting was called, and the workers decided to make a special contribution every month in order to keep our pay. It's not the full pay, but it's nearly the full pay. So it makes it possible for us to survive while we struggle to be reinstalled. On top of that, there were public campaigns made by the workers. We bring the support from members of parliament, of social movements. We try to put this all together, and recently the union called an international meeting of transport workers against privatization, where the issue of the unfair dismissals were addressed, and there is a day of action that's called to fight back both privatization and unfair dismissals.
Tell us a little bit about the 5 days of the strike, because they were very eventful days. Things happened a lot at once. How was your union used to mobilize the working class to support the strike, the actual union office? Were you able to work with other unions and community organizations during the fight? Talk to us a little bit about not just the preparation, not just the aftermath, but the actual confrontation. Just a little bit.
Okay, first, during the strike, every day we had mass meetings where any issue related to the strike was addressed by the workers. We invited supporters from other unions, from social movements, to come to our mass meeting. they don't have the right to vote, but they would follow the debate and the decisions, and they helped us a lot during the strike. We also called the other labor federations to come to our meetings. Many of them come. So we were building links with other social movements, with other unions, with labor in general, in order to help us to win that struggle. And a victory of one is always a victory for all, and a defeat for one is also a defeat for all. And what we feel is that many social movements and labor agree with us that that struggle was much of the interest of the whole working class.
Okay, I'm going to take a break.